plenty of us will do this every day. It's a word that's firmly in our daily vocabulary, but a quarter of a century ago, it didn't mean a thing. Have you got it? We're talking about Google, the website, which is 25 years old today.
It all started on the 4th of September 1998 when a pair of university friends filed paperwork with the state of California to officially create Google Inc. And these days it's almost impossible to recall a time when you couldn't just Google something. We've Google Chrome now, we've Google Maps, Google Translate. So we want to talk about the secret to its success and if it will ever be replaced as the world's most popular search engine.
Let's speak to Professor Curran from Ulster University and Dr. Francis O'Hagan, a GP in Armagh, also the Deputy Chair of the BMA's Northern Ireland General Practitioners Committee. Welcome, both of you. Professor Curran, Google, how much has it changed our relationship to information?
Well, it's, along with its other brand, YouTube, are the most visited websites in the world, followed by Facebook and Twitter. So 8.5 billion searches per day. Again, so it's indexed 40 billion pages, and it can actually search them in half a second or less again. So again, it's actually the second most valuable brand in the world after Apple, listed by Forbes. Again, so they have 93% of the UK browser market, and it's similar across the world. The second has 3.5%, which is Bing, and then Yahoo at 1.9. You'd wonder who's using Yahoo. Again, and even
Ask Jeeves, remember that?
Yeah, I do remember them all, because I remember they'd estimated a side hustle I had when I was a student. I was making 1,500 quid a month by doing search engine optimization with Alta Vista and all these, and then Google came along and just changed the landscape.
Could have been you.
Well, again, I was going to do my PhD in that as well, so I would have been one of the early people in it. But anyhow, they're a huge giant. They're involved in everything. Even the Android device you have, people might not know where Google are behind that. They make 30% for every purchase on the platform. Again, of course, the Nest speakers you have, they're into so many markets again. They make most of their money, 290 billion last year. Mm-hmm. They make the majority of that. 30 billion comes from, the Android or whatever, the cloud business as well, and 30 billion from the hardware as well. But really, 80% of the profits come from search, and they dominate that market.
So, wealth of information at our fingertips, that is sometimes problematic. Dr. Francis O'Hagan, I mean, do you get patients coming in saying, I looked it up on Google and I think I have this?
Yes, good afternoon. Yes, we do every day. And there are pros and cons. Dr. Dougal didn't go to university, and Dr. Dougal hasn't examined any patients to be able to actually to put together the nuances of what is actually wrong with each particular patient. So, for example, a headache could be something as simple that you have a bit of a headache, or Dr. Dougal could diagnose you with a brain tumour. You need that human input to put all the signs and symptoms together and to come up with a possibility of diagnosis, and then narrow that down into the one that you believe to be true. But where Dr. Google is very good is if you then diagnose the patient and you want the patient to learn about their condition, then I would direct people to Dr. Google and to some websites that are particularly good. One is patient.co.uk, which is written by both patients and medical professionals, and they give you really good information about your condition, and that's when I would want people to Google.
Is it frustrating as a medical professional sometimes that you may find yourself having to talk somebody down or say to somebody, no, I'm telling you as the trained professional that this is my diagnosis?
I think if you explain to patients well what your rationale is and why you've come to that conclusion, you'll take the vast majority of the patients with you. It is a sort of a journey together, because I don't think it's good medicine to just say, right, that's it. In medicine you never say never and you never say always, because they don't happen. There's always an exception. So if you take the patient with you and you inform them well, I think you will get them with you. You will get the odd person that goes, but I Googled it and I believe I have. And all you can do is try and say to them, well, look, you asked for my professional opinion. I've given it to you. I've explained to you why. But I respectfully disagree with you.
Professor Kevin Curran, I have a 5-year-old, okay? So if you've met a 5-year-old, they're full of questions, okay? And if she asks me something I don't know the answer to it, she says, Mommy, just Google it, okay? That's how far Google have come in 25 years. Will the next 25 years be as successful as the first, do you think?
Yeah, well, only an idiot would try to predict the future of technology. But they are an amazing company. They became a £1 trillion listed company 16 years after the IPO. And it took Microsoft and Apple again, 30 years to reach that again. So you might not. Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, was one of the early investors. He invested 250,000 quid in the first year, and now that's worth 5 billion.
Wow.
He's also an early investor in Twitter. He just knows he seems to know what he's doing. But it's hard. Like, the future is generative AI again. So that's one of the main worries again, that they actually lost 100 million last year from one demo, one stage. They came along and tried to do the competitor to Open, or ChatGPT, and it's called Bard. And they give up, and it says, the prompt was, which we're demonstrating, name 3 things that the James Webb Space Telescope has done. And one of the answers that Bard had given back was, it was the first to discover an exoplanet. That's a planet outside our solar system.
Right.
These astronomers hopped on and said, no, that's incorrect, 14 years earlier. So it was demonstrating again the errors of generative AI again, that it's just really, it's just a word prompter, it's the worst liar in the world, but it has so much potential. And the problem is, with OpenAI, or ChatGPT, you can have plugins for your own services. And generally, you just type in a query, it completely bypasses all the search results, all the pages, all the ads, and gives you the answer. And they really are worried. They're scrambling really to save their main business model, which accounts for 80% of their revenue.
Quite a revenue, though. Professor Kevin Curran from Ulster University, thank you so much for joining us to talk to us about that. Happy birthday to Google, and of course thank you to Dr. Frances O'Hagan, a GP in Armagh. The way she talks about Dr. Google really made me smile.
Yeah.
Thank you to both.
Yeah, at your own risk, eh?